you have so much more in you that contributes to you and other people. And it just takes you changing from that momentum of how you feel and how you think and how the world's presenting itself to you and going, no, I'm now going to be 360. I'm now going to open up all my sensors and I'm going to have a capacity to, express win, 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 win for the other person so that they get an ice cream cone, I get an ice cream cone, or whatever the deal is, it works out together, and win for the environment so that and if every moment you get to win and the other person gets to win and then the environment gets to win, then we have a world that works for everybody.
You're listening to A New Way of Living with Dan Voss, inspiring you to a new life of breathwork, cold therapy, nature, and plant medicine. In this week's episode, my guest is Dr. Barry Morguelan. A world-renowned surgeon and pioneer in gastro-enterology, Dr. B scoured the planet for the world's most practical and effective systems of healing, transformational well-being, and personal success. The fruits of a harrowing 30-year apprenticeship under the tutelage of a powerful sage deep in the mountains of China, Dr. B founded Energy for Success, which represents his one-of-a-kind reinterpretation of an ancient personal energy mastery tradition, reimagined and adapted for the modern world by its only Western Grand Master. Dr. B, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really great to be here. Yeah. So we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited for today's conversation. Absolutely. We had a chance to catch up a bit before we hit record, and I know so much of what I am passionate about and what my audience is into lines up so well with your expertise and your background. So very excited for today's conversation.
Yeah, we can go over a lot of things. I'm excited.
Yes, absolutely. Why don't we start with how it all got started? You were and are a world-renowned surgeon, mostly practicing Western medicine. So tell us a little bit more about how you decided to step outside of Western medicine to expand your medical practice.
Dan, it was like I was started off at the best institutions. I was working at UCLA in my internship, residency, fellowship, gastroenterology, even doing research. It was wonderful. And then time to even go further. And I developed two practices in Los Angeles at that time. This is about 30 years ago. And I was rocking it. We were using all these endoscopes now, and I was working with different companies developing the flexible scopes so we didn't have to cut people anymore. So I was really excited. I thought we'd reached the pinnacle. And I said, really, I can help people. It's fantastic. We can get in them out and it won't be a problem. And then after, I guess, 3 or 4 years in private practice, I was going, a lot of people are too sick and they're suffering. It's taking too long for people to, quickly get well, or even, what would be wrong with them? I kept seeing same people in the emergency room. I kept running up and down from the emergency room to the intensive care unit, then back to the floor, and then over to say a rehab unit and then back to the hospital. So I found out no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't keep up with all the sick people, no matter how many people were on my service. And I loved everybody and I wanted them all to get well, but it was just beginning to show, wear on me that there had to be something else that would implement for people that would really work in a way that allowed you to be your doctor, allow you to get well, and allow you to actually, instead of life being this thing that, as a doctor, we're sort of a catcher in a baseball game. You're catching the problem and then trying to throw the ball back and get them well. What would it be like if there wasn't anything to catch? What if the person could actually get well on their own? So I was very interested in anything that wasn't strictly, surgery, Western medicine, even though I was at the top of the field, because I said, well, this is it. There's got to be something else. So I remember one day, finally, I was making rounds. It's one of those ethereal moments where I was making rounds in the afternoon. The sun was shining in this patient's room. And I saved her for last, Mrs. Rodriguez. And I said, good, I'm going to end on a victory. This case went fantastic. And I know this family for a long time. And she's a sort of a large Hispanic family. So I went in, I sat on her bed and I said, okay, Ms. Rodriguez, it's tumor's out. Everything's out. You're well. You can go back and take care of your family. You can start cooking again. You can do everything. And, she's a friend also. I know her whole family. And so she reaches over to me and says, Doc, I really love you and what you did is great, but it took me so long to get to see you and through so many other doctors, they didn't know what was wrong. And I've been suffering for a long time. This whole process is really interrupted my life completely in a big way. And plus all the pain, them not knowing what was causing it. So, I looked at her because I knew her, and I sort of took her hand and I said, Mr. Rodriguez, I've been thinking about this for quite a while, and it would be great if you never had to come to the hospital at all. It'd be great if you never got ill. If there was a way that you could be at home and do everything on your own and keep yourself stronger, get stronger each day, that would make me happy, because this is too much of an overload of people constantly derailing and coming, and the wheels coming off, and then people having to be pulled out of huge problems or minor problems, or not even know that they have a problem. So then this sweet old lady who I always adored, plus I liked the food she brought me in the office, I must admit. She brought me a lot of good food. And docs, we don't eat that much because we're all running. Uh, she turned to me, she says, if anybody can do it, you can do it, doc. And so, I just had that moment. I looked outside, I looked out the window, I looked at her, and I went, it's time. I'm going to go find it, whatever it is. I'm going to find the alternative thing that allows people to get stronger every day, rather than have life be this decline where if somebody says, oh, I gained another year, it's like 911. Or if they gained another, if they get getting older, they get a problem, they go, oh, it's all over. I've got a problem, and now how am I going to protect myself, rather than how can I be stronger each day and actually surpass everything. So I went on a search, and it was totally worthwhile. It took me almost 6.5, 7 years. I went around the globe, about 160,000 miles. I didn't go all at one time. I had to keep my practice going, and of course that was a big thing, because I'm in a big city, Los Angeles, where if you know anything about competition, all your competitors go, "Great, you're leaving? Yeah, we'll cover your practice. We'll take the whole thing. You developed this big practice, out of sight, out of mind. These people are never going to come back to you. You're crazy." And so I said, "No, I really believe I'm doing the right thing for me and mankind." And therefore, I'm going to keep searching. And so then, people got used to it. A lot of doctors covering for me, and then every 2 or 3 months, I would go for a few weeks and go up and down the coast of California. I got into water therapy, osteopathy, acupuncture, acupressure. Went to Southwest, whole area there, and worked with the Native Americans for a long time. Then went down to Central America, and worked with the psychic surgeons and people in the Philippines. Yes, plant medicine is exciting now, but I'm telling you that I had all the original plant medicines, every one of them, and I understand why everybody's trying them now. I can just tell you, I couldn't bring them back to UCLA. Too much smoke, too much, unregimented, like what it was going to do for the person. Plus, for me, it was a little bit like having to take something, and I wanted your body to be able to do it. I wanted your body, the way it heals something when you cut it, to do that on everything. And I knew it was there, but I'm telling you, I got no support on that. Every time I would come back from a trip, one of my doctor, friendly competition would knock on the door and come in and go, "You found it yet? Found your fountain of youth yet? You're never going to find it. Doesn't exist. You're wasting your time. You're at the top of your field, and you're just wasting your whole life going away looking for these things." But I wasn't wait. I was working all the time I was here. It's just when I would leave, I'd leave for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then look everywhere. I went all throughout Europe, all throughout South America. Uh, I have a map that shows all the different places I went, and each one of those was worthwhile. It was wonderful. The reason I got to go to all those places was because I was already a teacher and a researcher, and was top of this field of endoscopic surgery at the time, on the cutting edge. Every place I went to speak, they would always say, "Yeah, you please come here and speak in Beijing, speak in London, speak in Paris, wherever you're going to go." And so to me, that was my ticket in to meet with their top doctors. And then always after I'd given my presentation, I really know what else you all have that we don't have on the other side. What do you have that is really miraculous, that's useful, that's real, that works, that isn't this whole Western model where you have to develop a problem and then we have to cut it out, or you develop a problem, you have to give a drug for it. That there's actually your internal self that would get stronger. And everybody would say, "Well, we really don't have much of that here." My grandmother knows a little bit about that. You maybe should talk to my grandmother. But the doctors are all going, they had no idea. But there were some things, like in London and England, they had the Bach remedies then, which everybody knows, the drops, the homeopathy, the flower remedies. In France, they had, in France, they had lifestyle. That's one thing we don't have. They had cheese, wine, totally great. I'm telling you, it does add to your lifestyle. That's how they get to eat, drink, and have a little better life than.
The social aspect that they have, right? The relationships that they build, the family time.
Oh yeah, everything stopped. I mean, that picture you see with a young lady with a baguette sticking out the back of her bicycle riding home happens every night, and it's time to take a break. And that whole thing is taking a break is useful. And the fact that you get to have great French cheese if you're not lactose intolerant is actually great with wine also. So I'm every country I went to was really fun. It was really worthwhile. So what was really cool about being able to visit all these places is one, I actually got to make good connections not only with the physicians but also with their families and people in the communities, and learning a lot about what now has come out as part of what everybody needs to know that hey, you have to have a certain lifestyle. Hey, if you're taking in all these different things that you think are correct, there's been some biohacking information for years that is well proven that's useful. Now, do you really need to burn leaves in down? I mean, I was a shaman for a while in South America, so I didn't look like this at all. If you can imagine the long hair, not well clean, and sort of the dark face, and wearing different kinds of clothes. Not at, not back at the hospital here, but when I was there, it was the whole thing. Like people are now with their hair pulled up and all that. It was not the most accepted look 25 years ago. I can tell you that. What was so exciting about visiting all these places was that the people were great. They all had some modalities that were really useful, but they were pretty limited also. They were not getting tremendous great results. They were just had a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, in throughout all Brazil and South America, whether you're going up and down the Amazon or not, I mean, there's crystals, there's wonderful crystal caves, there's all kinds of wild therapies. I recommend that people, explore that whole area if you haven't done it before the rainforest gets ruined. But you should go down there and see how valuable it is. But so many people were doing that very popular medication at that time plant, which, if that plant was really working, you would have had major results in the past 25 years. It's been around for a long time. And yet people are re-exploring it now like it's going to be the new thing, or it's going to be the new LSD or anything like that, or all those things. And actually, you've got it inside of you, I found out. And that was what I was looking for. And it wasn't until I got to China, but that took a long time. And I was teaching in China where I got to work with their national treasure. And the only reason I got to work with their national treasure, who's a guy who looks like he's right out of Kill Bill, if you saw that grandmaster there, and he was just as nice, which means not nice at all. He was guarded all the time, and he was severe, and he was always teaching, always teaching. Wasn't a time that he wasn't teaching. Of course, I learned a lot from him about that. In the beginning, I just was able to study him, and he allowed me to be around, but it was all up to me whether I could stay or not, or whether even get fed. I mean, everything I had to create on the spot. But as you can see in your life, that's part of the training. That we all think we wake up in the morning and it's happening. No, it's not happening. Nothing is happening. We're creating all of it. And if you can get into the vibration, which is the lessons that I've been able to bring back and the techniques I've been able to bring back that were originated from Lao Tzu, which is that's why I was so fascinated by this grand master who was at first they didn't want to let me connect with him, but since I took care of so many high officials in the government of China, and you got to realize when I was in China, it's not like today where everybody's wearing Versace knockoffs. And when I went there, they were wearing Mao outfits with the buttons, and everybody had the same uniform. And I'm standing out, a tall guy with baseball hat on, and so I definitely stuck out. But I was happy to study their culture as much and everything. Of course, I love Chinese food and I love being there, but it wasn't so easy. And there was whether I was going to have a place to sleep, place to eat, whenever I was following him around in the camp, because I just want people to know that there was no encouragement this whole period that I went through. It wasn't like every time I got back to China to visit in the first couple of years, and even following, people would go, "Oh, great, you're here. We're so happy. This big, famous doctor's here. He's going to." They couldn't care less. They say, "We really don't need you here." How's that? How's that? I just got finished doing surgery at the hospital here in Los Angeles, 2 or 3 places, saving lives. Everybody's happy. And they go, "We don't need you to come here, Westerner." As a matter of fact, they even had a name for Westerner, which isn't good at all. It's sort of like, don't come back. It's called Gui Lao, and means you're sort of a white
Yep.
ghost, and which is not a positive
Sure.
thing. That's not a good
So
thing.
what kept you?
Even if you watch,
Sorry. What?
yeah, what kept
Yeah.
me
What
going?
kept you
Because
going?
everything I saw what I saw him do was something we couldn't do in the Western world. And I went, here I'm a surgeon and I have to sew lesions up, and he could heal them from a distance with just his fingers back here, 2 feet away, 3 feet away, or he could have people just come in front of him. And I know people get shocked because there's people out history that you talk about, well, people who can't walk all of a sudden can walk. But actually, the field he could create, the energy field I learned, was so rehabilitative and so enriching that it opened up all your sensors, because his understanding of what we're made of originates all from Lao Tzu, and before him, Wan Di. And, even to today, people don't really understand the black and white symbol, the Yin Yang symbol. It's all got originated back then, and Einstein refers to it. It's the source of quantum physics. And so really in the quantum physics realm, these things are possible, that you can have an energy field, and it isn't just positive thinking, I hope I win the lotto or something. You actually can emanate at a certain level, and what you emanate at can do wonderful things, not only for your body, your heart, your lungs, your brain, but also to other people who are around you. That's why I'm doing this every day, because in my heart of hearts, not only once I found this and can bring it back to every person, that they could do this at home and do these techniques to keep themselves stronger each day and healthier, but that I feel, I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but the big reason why I'm so interested in doing this every day, I believe we have a chance at world peace with this technique, with these techniques, because each person, again, gets to be a tall tree. You don't have to be dependent on what's in the news. You don't have to be dependent on what's on social media. You don't have to be dependent on what somebody says. You actually have got these techniques just to every day light yourself up, and not get the smoke detector to go off. You actually, you're not changing your chemistry. You're actually allowing for who you really are to emanate, so that it's a win-win. So that's the real reason that I kept going all this time, even though there wasn't anybody promoting it, and they didn't promote it even all the way to the time of Grandmaster. There was nobody who really encouraged me. As a matter of fact, you want to hear this story about how I even got started to be trained? Because first all he would let me do is study him. It took me years just studying him. I mean, really, and I thought that'd be good enough, because, I was shocked when I could see lesions go like in the movie The Matrix. It was very similar, and the two movies that I've been associated with is that one and also Doctor Strange, as you know. That I am the guy in Doctor Strange that they wrote about. So as Dave Asprey said, you're the real Doctor Strange,
great
but
movie.
you all can be the real Doctor Strange. I want you to get these techniques. That's my goal. So
So it took a few years for him to even
go ahead.
agree for you to start training
Yeah,
with
it
him.
wasn't
It
an
took a
easy.
while
He
for that
says,
to
"Would
happen.
you like to be trained?" And I went, "Yeah." Are you kidding? It'd be the greatest dream of my life. And I went, and then I got really excited. And then he looks even more negative than he was usually. And he goes, "Well, you need to know you're not going to make it." And I went, "Great. Okay. What's the next ones?" So he says, "You're not going to make it." Because I said, "Well, can you give me a little information on that?" He says, "Well, two things. One, if you look around here, you've been here back and forth for years now, and you can see there's nobody else at my level." He said, "Nobody else makes it to this level, because in this discipline, you've got to work for it. You have a challenge each day. Your body has to transform, and that's a good thing. But if you don't keep doing that challenge, then you won't come up to this level." And so he said it's a process that you're going to have to, keep letting go of what I started describing as letting go of the matrix, and then emanating who you really are all the time without being woo-woo. You actually can do handstands. You actually can do two-finger push-ups. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you find out you have the strength to do without ever developing years of muscle. You can do it just with the energy. So at that part, I said, okay, all right. So he says, well, you'll get as far as you were meant to be. But 99% chance you're not going to make it. Look around here. There's nobody made it in all these years that you've been around here. So I said, okay, what's the other thing? He said, the other thing is you might die here. And I said, really? He says, yeah, there's no malpractice here on this mountain. There are no ropes. There are no lawyers that are going to save you. If you fall down and break your neck, break your arm, which did happen to a number of people, and some people have studied with me closely. Sometimes I tell those stories about guys I really cared about, who I thought were really hardworking guys from either Hong Kong or in the farmlands of China, who I got to be buddies with over the years, that died on the mountain. They actually died, and it's because it's so dangerous, some of these challenges. And that's why in the movies, when it looks like, oh gosh, this looks like just digital mysteries. No, I'm telling you, when I had to walk the Lake of Snakes, there is no good results going to happen if my feet couldn't stay barely on each rock and keep walking. I mean, I would get bit. There's no doubt. So I know people have had opportunities to walk on Tony's fires, but firewalks. But this is you had to be in an altered state completely and be able to just barely touch each rock, and then keep my focus on the Grand Master who was on the other side of the lake, going like this. Come on, come on. So I knew that, okay, every time I worked with him, it was another challenge. But the best thing about it was it's almost like when you're working out in the gym, maybe, or in your home practices in physical exercises, you start to be able to notice that each day or each few days you can do better. And your whole body's meant to do that. It's not meant to retreat. It's meant to actually expand. So there's really two realities from the yin yang symbol. One side, as people know about, it's all black with one dot, and the other side is white with a black dot. And really, the white side is your. And the reason Lao Tzu put it set up there is that every moment there's a choice. So you can actually choose this side and keep winning. The white side, just keep winning and winning and winning. Or you can choose the other side, which is the matrix, which is you can keep losing and have a big suffering story about it. And people go, why do you keep doing that? Why is your approach like that when you could do this? And people go, I don't know, habit. But habit really is sort of a vibrational momentum that actually puts you unconscious rather than just taking it on using these practices. So the side that's white, which I love, which is the side where all the energy is really only has one black dot in it, which is that a little challenge, a little spice in your life. Like when you're skiing, when you get finished, would you ever ski, Danny?
I have not done skiing, like slope skiing. I've done water skiing. Yeah,
Water skiing, okay, water skiing,
yeah.
great. So when you do water
I'm,
skiing, it's
I'm in the
great.
Midwest. I haven't been around mountains and and
So
snow too
initially,
much.
water skiing, you just want to hold on, but then after a while, you want to take the wakes, right? Yeah. So the way we're made is we want to be able to, we actually want to expand every day because that's your nature. But the way Mother Nature, God, the universe has set it all up for us, you can choose either one. You can go, I want to get weaker and less able and less strong and just be family guy. That's the black side. And then there's sort of a white light that there's hope coming someday from somewhere. Someone's going to invent something. So it's going to happen without me being involved. But in quantum physics, which is always going to be there, what you matter is on the white side. You're actually choosing to be more in the energy every day so that you can do these great 8 things that I have listed for your audience and for people all the time that I had to learn that are essential to keep your platform getting higher and stronger and higher and stronger. So the only reason you have that black dot there where it looks like, well, you don't win is not that you're not winning, it's just your learning experience, it's your challenge. So some people say, well, I have too many challenges. Well, not if you catch them earlier. So if you can imagine that the victory in life was sort of like having, on the white side, you could say, what do you mean? Well, you could have potato soup or leek soup. Do you ever try that soup? It's sort of whitish color at the end. And everybody goes, yeah, I've had it. It tastes okay. But the way this whole system was invented, they put a little bit of that pepper in it. Just a little pepper. It tastes 100 times better, doesn't it? And so that's the way the system was supposed to have. You're supposed to have a little bit of challenge to get you expanding every day, and then you'll expand. The problem is when we stop wanting to expand each day and grow in all these 8 areas, your relationship, your physical health and prowess, you're getting smarter every day. If you don't make that a choice and you sort of drag back by where everyone else is trying to push you, then that option exists. That's what I didn't like that as a doctor, but I was facing that in Western medicine, which is, hey, people have a choice every moment, and it's sort of up to us. And that's a good thing because then you have to depend on the other guy. You get to do it, but it still matters what you choose. So he trained me, and it was wonderful. It took a number of years, and then one day he said, he called me into his inner sanctum, and it's just like a couple candles burning there, and he's holding a cup of tea, and so I walked in. I didn't see anybody else around except his first lieutenant, who said, "Sit over there." It's like it's usual, not a lot of friendliness. And so I sat down. I did all the bows I knew how to do since I'd worked in Korea, Japan, and China. I knew how to at least make a presence, so I wasn't so offensive. And so I crossed my legs and said everything. And then he looks at me and he says, "Do you know why we decided to ever train you in the first place?" And at that moment, having been studying there back and forth for so many years and also working here in Western medicine, I just had a million ideas. I said, well, maybe I know he has a son. Maybe he wants to get his son into medical school. Or maybe he wants me to do this is one of those Zen moments where he wants me to just take the energy and knock that candle off the wall without touching it. Or he wants me to levitate something. Or And then I kept going through hundreds of ideas, and then I went, at this moment, the absolute truth went down my heart and said, I really don't know. Which for a Western doctor who's a tertiary specialist to say, I don't know to anybody is not your normal communication. But in the space of I don't know, my heart just sort of opened up even larger. And he said, good, right answer. He took a sip of his tea and he says, I'll tell you. And then he went through much things about my life that no way he would have known. I hadn't told people, but he was able to perceive all that through the ethers about being able to go back in someone's life without having to disorient. Like if you'll see fortune tellers and people like that, they're like going all this, that, and they're just trying to read. I mean, it was just like that. Each thing he was telling me, why at 5 years old did you stop treating people using your magic abilities? And I went, how does anybody know that? I know I've never told that to anybody. And he said that, you've come into the world with these talents, and what we gave you here was the modalities on how to be able to use those talents. But why did you stop? And then he told me about that, and I explained to him about going into Western medicine because I didn't think the world was ready for it. Is like now, where people are ready to really burst out of this very slow method of excelling in life and actually have a way of being powerful each day so that you got something to smile about rather than saying step drag. So and of course it was a little bit like in the movie. My whole body was sweating the whole time, and my clothes I kept just going right through because the energy field was so intense. And he says, you've made it and you can go now. And there's a whole thing about being able to go out the front of the monastery or the back of the monastery, and I got to go out the front, which is good. So if you go out the back, it's called dishonor. And I got to go, and then he says, you can contact me anytime and connect with me, and let us know how the rest of the world is able to take this on. Because you see, up until now, with my bringing it back to not only the West, but the whole globe, it was not translated. It was never allowed to be translated. When I first got there the first 2 years, and I was going up and down the mountain, I was a bit of a pain going, hey, come on. This thing's 5,000 years old and there isn't one book on it. They go, there's no books. It's an oral tradition. And I was going, come on, I'm a scientist. Why would they do that? They go, because it's so powerful that it was not something that was for anyone except the emperor and the emperor's top officials. And that way they could rule China and rule in a way that people could actually live together and have a life where it was successful. And then, a lot of great people, Confucius and other people come out of this discipline, but still it was all oral transmission. So if your group tries to find a book on Lao Tzu, I mean, you can find people who try to translate what they thought he said, but to get exactly what he said, it's a very thin book that shows him on a donkey, actually, and not his face, his back, going out of town, because he said, I've given everybody all the information that I think the world can handle up till now. And his students stopped him and made it, and they just copied down a bunch of stuff, made this one book, and it's all in code anyway. So when I have classes and the videos and audios, I'm explaining a lot of that code about what it means about certain statements that you've all heard, whether they were wonderful statements from Ben Franklin or wonderful statements from Emerson or Thoreau, whoever had the energy flowing through them, but especially Lao Tzu, they make sense so that you can actually use each bit of information you focus on every day to get stronger in all the 8 areas that are important. And it's been amazing. Since I've been back, I've been able to test it out. First, just in my office with people clandestinely going, well, that medicine you're taking that isn't helping you so much. Would you like to try something I learned? At first, I wasn't even willing to tell anybody I could do this. And then more and more people kept coming and referring other people with every kind of illness. And I kept seeing that, it doesn't matter, because I already knew it worked in all throughout the mountains of China, and I knew it worked in Japan because he and I used to go back and forth between those two places. But that it also worked with Koreans, I knew, and then I found I worked with Indians because I'd spent time in India. So I learned that this whole concept of the body being something that's really a certain color or a certain type is not really dependent on anything other than you doing these practices to get well and to be healthy.
So I'd like to hear a little bit more about your progression of this Chinese source energy discipline. In terms of when you first learned about it, what were your thoughts about it, and what was that turning point when you realized this really has the power to change not just myself but change the world? Can you tell us a little bit more about that progression there?
Well, I saw in China that people were being brought up the mountain. And they had a broken bone, or they had all types of deformities, and then they were only there for maybe an hour or so, and then they take them back down, and they were okay, And people are, in Western medicine, we're not used to that. We'd call it, well, there must be something that's not really true here, and maybe they're faking, or maybe it's placebo effect. So as a Western doctor, as a researcher, I had to like prove it over and over and over again. That each time from one of these people, and then when I finally learned all the techniques, I had to prove that I could do it over and over again. So then I had my patients in both in Los Angeles or when I traveled around the world to send me testimonials. So we ended up with 70,000 testimonials before I ever was willing to bring this out into the world. That doggone it, every time that's just like you can count, rocks are hard, water's wet. If you drop a cue ball on the floor, it's going to go down. It's not going to go up. That there are certain physical laws in quantum physics that they have discovered years and years ago using these techniques that would allow people to have great access to their natural abilities that you were always meant to have. That's the best part about it. It's not like you're injecting something in your brain. I mean, I've had people that I didn't start giving the energy techniques to till they were 80. And they'd go, okay, I'm ready to try it now. And they made it to 100 without, Alzheimer, without physical deformity, still reading books, still being active, and not, no doctors. So it's not like doctors are incorrect. I think that you need both the Western and the Eastern together. But I can tell you that, like early on, one time, the Grandmaster took my hand and he was showing me how my finger should be able to go all the way back to my wrist, okay? And the first time he showed me, I was able to do it. The second time, for some reason, I wasn't able to do it. So he was showing me how to do it, and then he broke my finger. Mm. Yeah, right in front of me. So I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at my finger, and I see, I treated enough broken bones in the emergency room. So I was going, well, I'm here on the other side of the world. I'm, 23 hours away from home by flight and bus. What am I going to do? But I knew that this was another moment where I had to see what's the body really made of. Can you really stick your hand through the body and bring it back out, which I actually learned how to do, and without incisions, and can you have a broken bone? And then he looked at me and I looked at him and I went like, okay, I trust you. And then he took his hand like this and like that, and then the bone just went like this, like that. So, and then straightened, and then I went like this, and the rest of the day I was able to use my hand. You would normally think it would be swollen and it'd be big and red and there'd be blue blood everywhere because of all the, in Western medicine we talk about that your tissue gets trashed and all the white cells and red cells get flurry when you break a bone. And it didn't happen. I was able to use the finger right away. And I'd seen him with broken bones before where people were able to actually pick up their luggage afterwards, even though they couldn't before. But that's only half the story. Then about, I don't know, a year later, we were doing an exercise together, and he wanted me to see something about my fingers to be able to move them all together, and that there really didn't have to be a position that they couldn't go. And I broke my own hand. By doing what he said, my finger went like this. And actually, I broke it with his hand on mine again, which just made me feel a little safer. Actually, I'm not that good to break my own. I do not want to break my own bones. So
I don't either.
So I had it all the way there, and then he pushed it a little bit further, what we were doing, and then it broke. And so I remembered, last time he helped me. So I went, like, in honor, please fix this. And he went, no, absolutely not. You do it, or it stays broken. And so then I went, okay, next challenge. I told you it's like Kill Bill. This is not easy. Or like, Doctor Strange. It was definitely the hard road, but the hard road teaches you very fast if someone really cares about you. And in this science of where quantum physics came from, it's really a caring field, because the more loving you are, the more you're in your heart space while you're doing anything, the more you're capable of. And so I used all the techniques that I learned from him, and then I was able to fix my own finger. And that wasn't the only broken thing I developed over the years that I had to learn to fix myself. But then on and on, I got much more, access to so many different types of problems that people could have, even financial problems, that really the reason that you think that you're stuck is no different than a broken finger. You've just got this momentum that says, I don't have any options, or I only have this ability, or there's only this much opportunity out there. And it's all misinformation that's in your brain that doesn't need to be there. What you need to do is to be completely in this magnificent, getting stronger self every day. And then you're just going to go out and just rock it. Um, One of the clients and friends over the years that used to come at the camp, you might know, was Jet Li. The guy who's really great with martial arts. Yeah, he was in that movie, I think, with Mel Gibson, where he steals his gun while the guy's holding the gun. Yeah, and the fact is that he's so quick and so able is not a mystery. You can do the same thing. He used to come to camp repeatedly to get repaired and fixed. Yes, he can kick up in the air fast, just like Bruce Lee. And I even consulted on Bruce Lee recently before they came out with their stuff. The point is that to have that capacity, you got to keep developing it. So you want to be great, but you don't want to get injured. Or if you get injured, you don't want to stay injured. You want to heal right on the spot. So if you can have, if you're going over a mogul and you get a jump and then you go over it better the next time, then you don't get injured. So over the time, I saw people, and even now, that from every type of complaint, like we had a guy who was wanted to be a musician, which it was really funny because his father told him, he says, my son is worthless. That's he starts out. The father made a lot of money, was very successful, and and had multiple PhDs. Okay, multiple, not just one, and spoke multiple languages, and had a company went all around the world. Okay, so this is a big deal guy. So his son, worthless. He said he can't do anything I can do or anything. All he wants to do is make music, and he sits in the garage, and for the past 3 years, every day, and he's only come up with 3 songs. And so I'm going to kick him out of the house, and I'm going to kick him out of the garage, and he's going to have to get a real job. Sound familiar? Unless you could do something to have him reach his dream of being a musician who's successful and write music. And so the guy was about, I guess, 21, 22. And I said, okay, I'll take him on, but because I'd treated the father and gotten great results with him for some things that he really wanted. And so I took the gentleman in, and he came to see me, and he was just, of course, torn up t-shirt, torn up jeans and everything, and not smelling too well. And I said, listen, I will open up all your sensors in your body using these techniques, and then you're going to have to keep doing the practices at home to keep them open, and then we're good. And he said, well, but how's that going to help my creativity? I said, well, the sensors really are in 8 different areas. They're in your being creative so that you can actually create whatever you want at any moment, so you've got that excitement about life, looking forward to every moment, being sort of in equanimity, so that you actually have this positive life can be something that not only is fun for me, but there's no limits on it. And then also that you're opening up the smartest part of your brain, like I mentioned before, the Einstein part of your brain. So I said all 3 of those things, plus serendipity is one of the 8 that we're going to open up those sensors. And then the ability for you to bring in financial success, which has been a big problem with you and your dad. So that's 5 of them. There's 3 others: relationships, that you can connect with people. That's 6, and then being able to have zone and flow, so that at all times you'll be able to keep focusing. But you're going to have to do the practices that keep bringing you towards this capacity, so that you recognize that you don't have anything that's going to be blocking you in music anymore. So I wasn't given positive thinking. The reason I love this whole practice and these techniques is it doesn't give you this false sense of confidence, or fake it till you make it, or hand position, and then I'm, like that show from Cuddy, that you now are more powerful. You've got so many more sensors than putting your hands on your side of your waist, that people are going to waste their lives, just like people waste their lives sitting and trying to meditate for a long time, and they never get to the nirvana state. In this field, these techniques take you to that nirvana state. And I've done it with people in shaved heads in temples in Japan and China, and people go, gosh, I'm a monk here for 3 years, and doing this technique allows me to get to the enlightenment state right away. Whereas before, with all my meditation, and whether you're eating vegetarian food or no food or breatharian or bad food, that suffering doesn't really bring you to that spot. Buddha even showed you that. He got enlightened after he stopped starving to death. So what is so useful is that one, the techniques work. 2, I said, but you'll have to stay in touch with me and do these practices. So I set him up with one of our facilitators and with me, and then he was texting every day that he was doing the practices, and he kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And finally, he texted me one day. He said, well, in 3 years, I wrote 3 songs. Now in 3 months, I've written another 12. So he wrote 15 songs, which with the music and the lyrics, and Beyonce decides to work with him. And then he starts becoming successful, and he then ends up working with Radiohead. This all happened in less than a year after spending years in the garage. And so then, just like the way life is set up, you're always expanding. He said, Doc, he said, now I'm wearing nice clothes. They're not all torn. I take baths. I talk to these people in Hollywood about what to do, but I have no idea how to do contracts. I said, what do I do now? I said, the point is that you're going to keep expanding and you're learning. Every day is supposed to be a learning experience. And yeah, you don't know, but that's the beauty of it, because now with these techniques, you have the capacity to learn on how to get a good manager, how not to get screwed. I mean, I've had a number of musicians over the years, people well known that we see, that are doing concerts even right now, that their initial contracts were not that good. You've heard about Columbia and Hollywood and Bruce Springsteen and Sting and all those people that doesn't necessarily, it's not really a win-win contract. And that's why but his contracts have all come out good, and he doesn't live in the garage anymore. His dad's happy. His brothers are going, how did you do this? He goes, just keep doing the practices. It's the fastest route to enlightenment, So you don't have to understand, you just have to do it. And so it's the way our bodies are set up. And I've had people who started out in business who were in terrible straits. We have one lady, Susie, we'll call her. She's an adorable girl. She's came in from her family. I remember because her family all came with her. She had 3 other sisters and her mother. And Susie says, I'm staying living at home, but I'm 23 now, and I really want to break out on my own, and I want a business, and I want to have a husband, and I want to have a good life, and I want to make a lot of money. So I said, okay, good. What's your background in that? She goes, no, I don't have anything. I just went to college. So she says, but I think I can do it in sales and in IT. I think I can develop in that. So she got started, and she learned how to communicate using these techniques so that you could actually have it be win-win every time when you talk to somebody. There's not trying to promote your product. You're actually trying to promote a product that works for them and it works for you. And therefore there's a bridge between you two as to why you're working together. It's not a sale. It's actually a benefit. So she improved so that she became like the #1 salesperson in I think it was about over 3 years in one of the biggest companies. Everybody knows their name. And now she gives talks on why she's so successful at being able to close deals with Dell, close deals with Amazon, close deals with everybody that other people don't even close. And she's not even in her 30s yet. And she got the husband she wanted, which, how do you become so busy and still find your soulmate? That's another one of the things that these energy practices are so useful for, that you can actually make a list of the right person, and you don't have to have this, ridiculous, we have like over a 50% divorce rate. Those are people who have already decided that, well, we think we'll make it together. But if you think about the people that are dating around the world, it's almost like the 90% separation rate, that people, get together and they go, it's not working, move on. Not working. What if you could reach your soulmate? You're supposed to actually be nurtured by your significant other. You're supposed to be nurtured by your friends, but people don't know how to keep that energy bridge open between the hearts, and it becomes a dependency, where we have a whole course on how you don't have to be depending on the other person or tit for tat or obligated to them. Like, well, you get the laundry and I'll bring home the dinner, and okay, you did this for me and I did that for you. But rather, you're just so inspired by being by that person that you actually feel you're better and more able, and you're more capable, you're happier that the whole day because that person's in your life. That's the kind of people you should have as your colleagues, your business associates, and your significant others. So that's one of the things that we've been able to work with people that it's really quite fascinating.
What would you say is the common thread in all of these? You said there's the 8 different areas. Obviously, each area focuses on a different part of life, whether that's relationships, finances, your career, healing trauma. What would be the common thread in all of those areas? Is it, finally loving yourself? Is it paying more attention to your intuition? What's happening there with those 8 different areas that are pretty different, but they all lead to one thing, which is success at the end of the day?
Right. That's why the company's called Energy for Success. I started that over 17 years ago, and started now that I come out in the public and I'm not doing surgery every day. I can tell people, hey, don't waste any time. You need this. This will really give you the fastest access. I mean, in China, it was always talked about as the fastest route to enlightenment. It's just there was no books on it. Nobody's teaching you. You'd have to get clearance, and then it'd be a verbal tradition, and someone would work you through the challenges. But I can say that the biggest point, if I've got your question correctly, you want to know the most impactful thing about the energy and why it works so well,
Correct.
or how it works from physics?
I guess both, but why does it work so well across the board?
Okay, yeah. If you could get that, well, here's a good example. When you were going up through grade school or junior high, did you ever play like, did you ever get a home run or hit a
Yeah.
great softball or hit a great
Oh yeah.
volleyball or a good golf
I
shot?
peaked. I peaked
Yeah,
at eighth grade, so I was a good athlete up until about eighth grade, and then after that it was down. But yes, I had a home run or two.
yeah, but it doesn't change from eighth grade to now to forever to 100. It doesn't change. That's why Dave Asprey loves this stuff so much, because it fits his whole idea. He wants to live to be 160, and this is your route to doing that. That's where all these grandmasters live to. So the connection to that strong ability when you hit the home run. Did you notice that? And you'll notice in you, and you can watch somebody doing it on television. You can watch somebody doing it in a game if you go to the ballpark. That after you hit it, you don't really move for a second. You're like a little bit stunned. You're like, oh, it's like you're in an altered state. And I've worked with golfers on the PGA Tour and everything else, and that's one of the phases. That needs to be your normal state. That people go, well, my flow state is everything's working and I'm like producing. No, that's sort of a full momentum state. The state you want to be in is the home run state. The state you want to be in is a 375-yard straight drive down the fairway. And you'll notice, even in people that do that, they get into what we call an altered state where they just sort of can't move for a second. Then they can run the base, and then you just feel so good, right? And you don't just feel good because you hit the perfect tennis ball and someone saw the score. Because I work with a lot of tennis players, even the lady who's just in beat Serena, that it, it's not that, well, I aced the side and I feel good about it. It's that experience that you're in that state where all your sensors are open, so that you and the energy and what you're really made of in life, all your sensors are open, so that when you hit the ball, it's a great experience. You actually feel great. And that home run experience, that state of high performance, is actually accessible every day. It's an expanding state, so that today's home run will feel different than one 2 days ago, because it's always new. In this life, everything is newly occurring. You'd really, although people say, "Oh well, I woke up today and there's the street that I usually see every day." Actually, the way physics are set up, you don't have any guarantee of that. Something could happen at nighttime. It could be a snowstorm, rain, so you wouldn't have the same street. You just got your assumptions, and your assumptions is what kill you. If you didn't have an assumption, you could hit more home runs. If you could go up there and be in this wonderful high energy state, but it's an equanimity state of being in the energy for success, manual for living, that you walk around and you're sort of like Jet Li, like, okay, someone want to start a fight, fine, we can handle it, or we can go to dinner. I'm ready to do both. I'm here to be in love. So what you said about, is it a loving space? Yeah, you actually feel more competent, so you don't have to fake competence. You actually walk around feeling, I can go up and hit a home run in this job offer that I want to do, or this, say you want to, I have a lot of people who are learning things in Silicon Valley and they want to invent things. Well, where's that going to come from? You got to be in that state. You just can't copy off your neighbor. You've got to actually have it flow through you. And your capacity to do that, everybody knows, is something that feels marvelous when you have it. And when you don't have it, you're going, where'd it go? Where'd it go? It's like when you were cramming for finals, people like, they all of a sudden, their brain wakes up and then they go, how come I'm not like that the rest of the time? What's going on? So, do you have any specific questions that you think would be specific towards having your audience understand more, or be able to utilize these? Because I have over 70,000 testimonials of people who are major athletes. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm most excited about personally in my life is helping others deal with trauma. Whether that's childhood trauma or recent challenge that they're facing. Maybe it's a divorce or loss of a loved one, or they just can't figure out how to forgive somebody. Right? That's something that I think most people have struggled with at some point in their lives. That they have struggled with forgiveness. Do you have any success stories of people that you've worked with that have overcome trauma through your energy work?
It's a phenomenal question. I've dealt with a lot of and had the opportunity to work with people who've been through horrific experiences. Not only concentration camp people, but people who've had, not the best marriages, not the best relationships. Didn't grow up in a house where they were treated even slightly in a way that would train you to be effective. And all of that is just a momentum. Once you recognize that your capacity to change from that total experience and those feelings and thoughts and shift by doing these practices so that you see that, oh, wait, I really don't need to hold this grudge. I was one lady who came to me and I said, so what are you going to do with about this and this? And she says, well, I'm thinking of talking to my sister again. So this lady was 73, which is older than almost everybody here, but it's a funny story. So I said, well, okay, you're 73, and what is it you want to do with your sister? He says, well, we haven't talked in 52 years. I said, you've had your sister, do you all live far apart? He said, no, we live 2 blocks from each other in Texas. So this forgiving thing doesn't happen. And so she says, I'm ready to go do that. But I didn't tell her you need to forgive her sister. It comes up within you that all of a sudden you're in the heart space that I can handle whatever was the grudge that I used to have against this person. The pain, that pain is nothing compared to the power I feel now. So it's like a training pain. Every pain that I had with that person was a letdown. It means they aren't the best person for me, but maybe now I can create an energy bridge with them that it could work out. And she ended up writing a book with her sister about it. And they ended up getting along, and she ended up being a caretaker for her sister over the years. And your understanding of other people won't happen until you can get in communication. And you can't get in communication when you're worried they're going to hurt you. And when you're worried that you've been hurt by them before, what are you going to do? You're going to go out with this a big shield, and that's what people do. They're withdrawn, or they won't say what they're feeling like. And where people can forgive is not like people say forgive for yourself, not for the other person at first. That if you can't forgive someone, it's like you're smoking cigarettes and you're inhaling it, but you're expecting them to get sick by your being upset. It doesn't work. It's if you're being upset and not forgiving, but then what do you tell people? It says, well, yeah, forgiving works. Actually, it's again the modified Western and misinformation syndrome of the matrix that really has people stuck on forgiving. Because if you knew right now that you had the capacity not to get hurt by that person ever again, and you knew you had the capacity to develop a relationship with them so it would work out, and you had the capacity to not only make up for the past, but actually have a great future, wouldn't you be a little more relaxed when you went into them and said, hi, can we connect? Can we start again? And the person goes, well, you were mean to me before. It goes, yeah, that was me before, but I've learned a few things over the years. Yeah, but I'm still upset about the time you stole my red wagon. Yeah, I know. You want me to buy you a wagon now? I think I could get it for you. Or let's go get a hot fudge sundae or something. I mean, you can have people who really hurt you over life, and that, and maybe people you've hurt, but that if you connect with them in this space, in this, where all 8 engines are firing in your platform, when you go there, you're so able at that moment. You're not scary to them, and they're not scary to you. You won't get hurt. You actually will not have your emotions go up and down. And we've proven it with so many people over the years who have wanted to get divorced, and they don't have to get divorced. They find out, gosh, let's let that go. I mean, when I originally met this person, you can choose the vibration you want to be in because you're made of all these sensors. So once you open those sensors, you go, I remember what I really felt for that person, and they're adorable. I don't know why I don't think they're adorable anymore. I was just blocking that. Why am I blocking they're adorable? Well, it's something you learn from your mother, your grand. Who cares? It's psychology. If it had worked, I have a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists who've been through all these programs and doing them even right now while we're talking. And the reason they want they do the programs, and they even have their clients do the programs in the waiting room is because they said, well, now finally I can talk to the client and they'll hear me. They won't resist it because, most psychiatrists say, my problem is I can't get the people to hear what I want to say. They won't follow. They won't do it. And it's sort of like the gym instructor says, they won't follow. They won't do it. Well, what are you doing when you're not doing what would be helpful to you? You're stuck in being right about the fact that, like Family Guy, this is just the way it is. Or like Homer Simpson, I'm going to be just stuck in sort of this thought pattern, this feeling pattern. Your thoughts and feelings are up for your choice at any moment. That's why Lao Tzu made the Yin Yang symbol, that you've got that line, and you don't have to be balanced where nothing bothers me, I only eat a certain kind of food, I'm a robot, I'm fine. Well, that's not equanimity. The equanimity is that you can ski over any kind of water or over any kind of mogul and enjoy it.
Mm,
So, I mean, you have a time for a funny story?
I sure do.
Okay. So this is a long time ago, but it was when I was still going back and forth to China, and I had a bunch of friends who were getting into meditation, which I'd been into for a long time before this, especially when I'd gone to India. And but I don't talk much about India because that's a very slow road. I mean, with the caste system and everything, it is just not set up for people to actually make it to the highest level. It's just a very, very old workable tradition that the same answer is always the same. You need to meditate. You need to meditate. So we went to this wonderful meditation conference. A friend of mine took me, and it was a hoity-toity one. It was a Beverly Hills thing, beautiful home, all this stuff. And he says, "You're going to love this meditation with all the practice you've done. You'll love this teacher." And you do not know where the story's going to go. Wait. So one thing, there was a lot of beautiful people there. I guess I admit, everybody's dressed to the hilt, and we're seeing all these beautiful cushions, and the meditation was wonderful, and I loved it. I got great benefit out of it, and so then we left after we had some tea or something, and we went out to his car. There's a buddy of mine, and he's got multiple degrees, high education, good family, everything. Goes out to his car, and then all of a sudden, he sees he got a parking ticket where he parked his car, and he goes, "God damn it! I can't believe it! I have parked here so many times before. I get a ticket every time. I always forget about this ticket." And so I said, "Well, what happened to the meditation? Where was the benefit of the meditation? What use was it? It was only useful in there with all the pretty people and the nice cushions. I mean, you're now in life again. And what I like about Energy for Success techniques, it puts you in life so that you can be on the ice, you can be on the court. That's why I've worked with so many NBA players and PGA players that the being out there in competition is good for you if you keep getting stronger every day. It's only not good for you if you think, okay, I'm going to isolate. My meditation is now going to do it like a pill, and then I'm going to come out here and I'm going to be in great shape because I meditate. Well, he wasn't, because he got hooked by what some people call your buttons, your psychological interpretations, or your previous training. But it's a lot, come on. How many years are people still going to keep telling that story? It doesn't work. Didn't work for him, and he's got everything. He's got the nice car, got the nice people, he's got the nice meditation class, but his blood pressure goes "Yeah," when he makes a mistake or something. They'll say, "Well, you need to work on perfectionism." I'm telling you, you need to work on opening all your sensors, and then it isn't one isolated little pill or one little thing that you're doing wrong. There's a million things every day that you're going to learn how to do. Gardening, you're going to learn how to enjoy every plant. You're going to learn how you're connected to the whole universe all the time, that you're really part of all of this, not separate from it. And once you can get your sensors open enough so you're in that home run state or that volleyball state where you actually have hit the ball smoothly, or when you made a great piece of art, all of a sudden you looked at it and went, "Oh, this is great." Where'd it come from? It comes from the same place. This whole planet is being created from a wonderful place, and people don't get to connect to that wonderful place. And some people say, "Was that positive thinking?" I don't mind being positive, but you need to know. I mean, I don't know where everybody is right now, but if they were to look outside and look at all the trees, and you could look at like, well, okay, there's one tree, there's another tree. I mean, they're all different. I mean, uh, really? Why do we need to have different? If Microsoft had made the planet, it was really out of this traditional Homer Simpson or gutted out type of compressive, competition kind of experience with each other, there'd be no need for all these plants. You have trees everywhere, and they go, "Oh, that's the ecosystem." Really? It's not necessary. It would just be metal painted green. They'd wash it down once or twice a year, and that would be it. So there was no work involved. In other words, our minds become so narrowed when the universe is feeding you. As a matter of fact, the plants are actually part of you. I mean, if I asked you point to your lung, okay, where would you point? Okay, you want to show me?
I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah, where would you point? Yeah, that's where you would point. And your crowd,
Right under the chest.
everybody listening should point to their lung, right? But that's not true. It is not. Your lung is not there. Your lung is half of it's in the tree, because you can only produce CO2. You cannot make the oxygen you dearly need to live on. Everybody wants to increase your mitochondria. When I first went through this with Dave, he went crazy. The biohacker. He went, "Yeah, my lung is half in the tree." I go, "Yeah, the tree is giving you the oxygen. You're giving the tree the CO2 it needs." There is a system where your sensors are connected to other things in the entire planet which are feeding you. And if you could get that the tree is feeding you right now, you wouldn't be alive. If I get rid of all the trees, or if somebody's crazy enough to do that, we go. There's no humans, there's no animals, we're gone. So The lesson here is that it's not simple. It's fun and robust and like this wildly wonderful new expression of life that is supposed to be something that you're part of, not feeling
Mm-hmm.
separate from. And so when some people say, well, you're saying you should go by and don't forget to smell the flowers. Don't forget the flowers there for you. Don't forget
Right.
that if you're not connecting the flowers and everything else, and some people would also say, well, I can't do all that. I'm worried about my taxes. That's the problem.
Mm.
You're not allowing yourself to grow in all 8 areas because with the energy techniques, we've had people that, well, there's a guy named Bob who started with me, and he really just wanted to be successful in business. I met him when he was just out of college, and I think uh, and then finally went to MBA school. But just out of college, he says, I want to build things. And I went, okay, great. But he started from scratch like everybody else. He didn't have any money. Now he became one of the biggest builders in less than 10 years in all of Austin. And his
Mm.
buildings are well known. His company's well known. He's got millions and millions of dollars worth of success, but it all started from zero. And if you talk to him, he'll say, oh, well, just do these techniques. He even has people in his company learn these techniques if they want to expand and grow even faster in a department. So you can be too. So there's been so many people who've used these special techniques. I mean, I had a lady who was a lawyer, and she was a great lawyer, but she was high tension, and she's an international lawyer, and she weighed so much though because of the stress, constantly
Yeah.
eating carbs all the time. And so she used these techniques and came back to me and she said, I lost 160 pounds. I said,
Wow.
really? She says, your program you should tell everybody that the program will help them lose weight fast. And I went, well, did you do something really different? I mean, intermittent fasting or what did you do? She says, no, just all the things that I'd done previously now started to work because my body was in that home run state. I was in that top
Mm.
performance state. And so, I wasn't even that hungry. So it wasn't even difficult that I didn't have to just go to bone broth or something like that. I wasn't hungry. I was actually more interested in just staying hydrated, doing my physical practice, getting my sleep. And her husband lost about 75 pounds. And he was another lawyer. The fact is, I didn't even interact with them. The material, the practices is what supports us. It's what supports
Mm.
me and why I do them every day for all years, because it gives you that power to be able to expand. And you don't know where else you're going to expand tomorrow and the rest of today. And that's the beauty of it. And that should be like fascination. Like, well, if the world's set up actually to support me and it's not positive thinking, how can I discover the vibrations that connect me to everything? Well, you just have to make that a goal. And we have all these goal
Yeah.
processes for people to do that.
Yeah, it is so fascinating. I think what you have put together here in terms of your past work and your learnings throughout the world, really over decades, you've taken Eastern practices, whether that's energy healing, but that started with meditation and breath work, and you've coupled that into a program that is literally changing people's lives. And I just want to commend you for that because you can sit here and talk about it and talk about its healing powers, but I don't know if you get enough credit for the work that you're doing for people that desperately need it. And that's the world we're living in right now, is that people need work like this now more than ever. And we were talking, Dr. B, you and I, before recording on how I got started in all of this with the podcast and the message I'm trying to put out. We're living in a world really in the last, I would say in the last year and a half, it's been more prominent in our news cycles and on our social media feeds and in our conversations that we're having every day. But this has really been going on for decades in Western culture, where we're suffering, we don't know where to go to heal. And you and your team are bringing that to the world. So I want to acknowledge that and say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It takes a village. If I have the ability, which I do, to do all these wonderful magic things for all these years, well, then what do I do? Go back to my
Yeah.
cave in China up in the mountains and see occasionally people and magical thing. No, it's if you all can learn all these techniques and then we can get world peace because it takes a
Mm.
village. One person makes the shoes, one person makes the new clothes, one person makes the new haircut styles, one person makes the new IT. You're constantly this expanding geyser of information and joy that gets shut down by the matrix. That's why I'm so thrilled if people, as soon as they start, they'll start getting results because the matrix has just got you like giving up or
Mm.
confused. And that's why we've had so much cacophony. So my feeling is that we need each other. Really.
Yeah.
It's not like we need each other all at the same level like Animal Farm. What you need is everybody to expand to be a tree and be their best, who they are. And then that ability allows each person not to have to depend on each other. They actually can feel it in themselves. Because even if
Mhm.
someone does give you food or does give you something, your self-esteem and your power is not growing like it's supposed to be. So you're really contracting. When you can expand and handle more and do more in life, then you feel good, not only about yourself, but also it's real. You're not faking. You're not going, well, that was positive thinking or I have imposter syndrome. That's all baloney.
Mm.
It's just
Yeah.
noise. That's stuff from, Dilbert, one of my favorite cartoons, because
That's
most
right.
of the Gilbert characters have that kind of point of view, like,
That's
what
right.
is this all about? And that's totally not reality. And he knows that. He wrote his books, thank goodness, about
Yeah.
how it all comes from quantum. Congratulations to him.
So on that note, how hopeful are you for our future when it comes to world peace? If we turn on the news today, it would look like our whole world is up in flames and the world's going to end tomorrow. It seems like there's just pure chaos going on every single day. How hopeful are you that we can actually attain what your mission is with world peace?
Something you might be interested in, Dan, is that I have a lot of clients over the years who really are doing their best to have this village work. And we're all in the village, every one of us. And some of them work actually at the United Nations. And I'd like you to read something I just got yesterday from someone that we all know his name. At the United Nations, speaks other places in the world, but this is from him and his wife. And so I won't say his name, but we'll say he spoke at, and then there's this major university that everybody would know the name, large university. Uh, he spoke today, and to prepare, he has been listening to all of your Energy for Success practices and guided breathing visualization all night for the past 2 nights before he presented. There were over 8,000 attendees, and he got a standing ovation 3/4 the way through his speech, and another at the end, a stand. But the most impressive thing was there was comments by the crowd that they had never seen or felt anything like what he was saying. So he
Wow.
was presenting what we're talking about today through talking about world peace and having how people can get together and work together in a way that doesn't matter your ethnicity, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter your belief. None of physics depends on that. Who you are inside is really good. And you want to
Mm.
contribute to yourself and you want to contribute to another person. So, this whole process that I've been, people see this in something we have for them, which is effectively not on what our past has been. Our past has been win lose, that whoever's in power, they win and you lose, or you take whatever they give you, or you take the lumps with the gravy and Thanksgiving. I mean, that's just the way your mom makes it. The point is, it's only going to work if you come from a place that I'm always going to be a contribution. I'm going to be winning, and you're winning also, and the environment winning. So it has to be three W's: win, win, win. And therefore, your ability to make a win result is really pretty simple. If you go and I go to an ice cream store, um, and we both walk in there and I get an ice cream cone, I'm not going to feel good unless I go, hey, you want one too? In other words,
Mm.
if I get one, you get one. Win-win means that we both are moving up together at the same power and space. It's not that I got an ice cream cone, I'll meet you in the car, you do what you want. That's the world we
Yeah.
grew up in, right? You're on your own.
Right.
And we're not talking about ice cream, I'm talking about everything. That if in every moment you actually are thinking about people and you're caring about those people, but they don't know that because the dialogue is not open, then that's when you should send them a text right now. Anybody who's
Mm.
listening should send a text to whoever you care about and just say, hey, just thinking about you and I hope you're having a good day. Believe it or not, that comes from your heart space. It doesn't come from I'm winning and at what I'm doing and whatever you're doing, screw it. I want you to know I care. And it's not like you want something back, because just in the gift of you opening that sensor, and you were talking about forgiveness before, which is what the forgiveness people are trying to reach. But if you come from the true space of that kind of communication, then you're already winning. And it's going to land how? Well, they'd have to put up a big block to block out your nice comment. What was impressive to me, that I think everyone can get a benefit from, is that you have so much more in you that contributes to you and other people. And it just takes you changing from that momentum of how you feel and how you think and how the world's presenting itself to you, and going, no, I'm now going to be 360. I'm now going to open up all my sensors, and I'm going to have a capacity to, express win for the other person, so that they get an ice cream cone, I get an ice cream cone, or whatever the deal is, it works out together, and win for the environment. So that and if every moment you get to win and the other person gets to win, and then the environment gets to win, then we have a world that works for everybody. And that's what my real goal is that people, if you can regulate, you have the power to do that, but it isn't like psychological power. You need grit, or you have to put yourself through some ordeal. I'm all in favor of super cold baths, and I had to melt a lot of snow when I was initially up 25 years ago, sitting out in a loincloth, doing different energy techniques, which now has become really popular with Wim. And so I think that's wonderful. But the thing is that you're so much more every moment than you ever realized. And the world is set up for you way more than you get to get in touch with every moment. And it isn't the other guy who knows how to do it. It's just you're just not, your body and your focus is not on what would really work for you. You get distracted by the matrix, by, not only negative thinking, but also how you feel or how other people feel or what you're busy in. I mean, one thing I think is really useful for everybody, it doesn't matter what your age, whether you're 6 years old, 10 years old, 18, 25, everybody in the family, is that by the creativity sensors in your body, learning how to open those up is so wonderful for people that they've got, you have to admit it, you have buckets that you want to do that you, or that you hope to do someday. It's on your big list of things that someday I hope to get to when I finally get finished with what I have to do. And you don't want to live your life out of what I have to do. You want to live your life out of, well, like we had a little girl who's 10 years old, and during COVID, she and her father are arguing, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're a bit of a, they came to me and says, the practices are working, but we don't know how to get along with each other anymore in that same house. And I said, well, because you're, what are you doing with creativity? And they went, and the little girl said, I don't know, he's a chef. And, I said, well, why don't you start a chef class or something? So they came up with an idea of a kid's chef class, and it's gone viral now. They're on YouTube. Nice. And they have so many classes, and she just walks around, and he wears a gap. Because he's a real chef. So they're in their kitchen, and he says, okay, Violet, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do this and this. And she'll go, well, it's all real time. She goes, I don't know how to use this instrument and how to use this. And then he shows her how to cut things correctly. And then she does it all on her own. And then she ends up making the whole dish. And they have all these dishes that kids can make in their own homes with their, starting with their parents, but learning how to use all those utensils and also the recipes. And that everybody needs to learn how to cook good. But it's not the other person. It's so difficult. Once you watch this kid show, you go, well, wait, if a kid can do this, you've got buckets also. We've had people that have written plays during the past 2 or 3 years, and also previously, where creatively they had a bucket. They wanted to see if they could get a script taken and shown on Broadway. Yes. We had one lady who her job was gone, and so she decided to take up painting. She says, well, I'll just continue. I always wanted to take up painting, and here's my time. And now she has shows where she's actually selling her paintings, and she works from her studio at home. And for her, people like to say, oh, well, this problem was a blessing. No, the problem is not a blessing. The blessing is that you can find new ways of expanding your sensors to this wonderful planet that's trying to support you, that you keep being told, no, you're not, or this person's causing a problem, or this thing's in the way, and therefore you can't do it. All that has nothing to do with you jumping to the side where your opportunity lies, your creativity lies. And that's what's waiting for you and me. And it's so much better than we ever expected. It's really within you right now. You just need to do these practices. And I can't wait to see the results with your entire community and anyone they know.
I love that. Earlier in our conversation, I asked you what kept you going when you were in China and you were dealt with a little bit of restriction in terms of maybe you're not ready for this by the Grand Master. It took a while for you to get that training started. It was a real barrier that you had to break through. And for most people, they would likely give up and say, not worth it. I'll just go back home. But you kept going. And I think after hearing this conversation and all of your testimonies, you probably now know why you kept going in those moments of doubt, those moments where you said, I'm not good enough. Maybe this isn't for me. And now you're seeing it come to fruition by thousands and thousands and thousands of people that you're impacting. So again, I just want to acknowledge that.
Yes, there's so much there for all of us to have it work so that your body's getting stronger, your love relationships are getting stronger, your peace of mind and your brain is actually getting smarter. All those things that you've been told, no, you just need to focus on one thing in life, make that a good thing, and somehow you'll have somebody else who will do no, you're a multi-dimensional structure that doesn't have a clue until, the moment comes when you've heard the old story that where the car is on the baby and the woman, for some reason, says nobody's around, she can lift the 2,000-pound car off the baby. Yep. Or there's been stories over and over, like, where does that energy come from? Oh, high dose epinephrine. Or, no, you would bust all your muscles. The point is that there's an energy flow state that allows you to do things in excellent expanding space. And then there's no energy flow state where you're contracting all the time and eventually you just sort of give up. So I really want people to recognize it's time to keep choosing. I don't want the matrix. I really want to expand. I want to develop. How can I really each one of these 8 every day and then really watch my results? It'll happen. It'll definitely happen. Not because you're positive thinking and not because you just say so. It's just because now with you opening these sensors, you have the energy in you. So now it can be focused someplace. See, energy goes where your focus. So energy flows where your focus goes. So if you can focus towards, I want to do this creativity and I'm going to use these practices, you'll get a result. You always. And people are just thrilled and amazed that their opportunities are expanding each day. And it'll be a surprise for almost everybody about how good they can actually make it happen starting now.
Yes, so empowering. Before we wrap up here, Dr. B, where can people learn more about you? I understand you have your website and then also a free offer for my audience. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have a wonderful gift for everybody. I think the moniker for it is energyforsuccess.com/living. Living. And energy is ENERGY. 4 is FOR. And success is SUCCESS.com/living. And if you immediately go there, you're going to get this wonderful series of guided breathing visualizations. And those are the ones that I was talking about that this noted person who's at the United Nations was listening to before he gave a speech and was able to be effective. So you want to make sure that you download that. It'll really help you and don't miss it. And also there's other things on the website, energyforsuccess.com, where there's different podcasts, different physical practices, because we didn't even go into why Jet Li is so powerful, why in karate and kung fu you can take on 3 people and they'll bounce off of you, how I was able to learn how to put my hand through bricks without hurting your hand. I mean, I have a surgeon's hand and I didn't have to go like this. We learned actually how to use the energy to go through thick bricks like this. You didn't have to go, like try to kill it with a karate chop. So many things that you have no idea that you can do with these practices. So go to the website and look at the physical practices. And there's always somebody at customer service who can actually set you towards a program if you decide you want to go further, farther, faster. All of that is waiting for you. And now's the time. Come on, the world's waiting. Like it? Read social media. Do you really like it? I mean, no. We're pretty much stuck with trying to get over it with Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Wreck-It Ralph kills the internet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, that's pretty much, we're left with trying to get over life because of that. Or, something else. But actually, what if you could really put the pedal to the metal and become, working for, and have Radiohead as your, partner, or Beyonce or come out with a great play now that you've never done it before. You don't have to ever do it before.
Yeah.
You have it within you. It's not positive thinking. It's actually the way you're made. Just like the way you're made is part of your lung is here and part of it's in that tree. So you got to expand a little bit larger than where you think this little person who's got this little voice who's talking to them, and I need tons of therapy to ever get over this voice. You'll never get over the voice is on the left side. As long as you stay on that side, you're going to be, or the dark side is going to pull you down. If you can be into the home run state at every moment in each of these 8, you've got a chance to be successful way beyond anything you ever thought.
Wow, so good. Dr. B, I can't thank you enough for your time and sharing your story and all the work that you're doing. I can just tell the passion and energy that you have for this mission and this purpose that you discovered really many decades ago, and you decided you're going to go full head of steam and share this with as many people as you can. And I admire that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really, 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 really appreciate this opportunity. If it had all been written down before, I spent 25 years going back and forth to China. If there have been books on it, let me tell you, there's people who talk about magic and ability and all those qualities, but it's just talk. What if you really want to learn the capacity that you've got inside of you, it's there. And now it's translated for you all.
Yes, so good. All right, Dr. B. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.